The video is called "The Darkest Moments in TV History." This is by Nick Crowley. I definitely recommend watching him if you're into dark content and interesting content. I'm not. This kind of makes my stomach turn. I don't know, but we're gonna watch this video just because it's Spooktober, okay? And I did promise you guys that I was gonna do this type of content for this month. Hopefully October just goes by quickly, man. I don't know. I'm gonna stream today. I'm gonna stream on Halloween, and that's it. That's it. I'm not gonna stream in between. Hell no. Okay, let's get into the video. Nick Crowley, the darkest moments in TV history. Just the.
It was a typical day in the world of daytime
Oh,
television.
Zoo Pals!
Infomercials, soap operas.
Okay, I
highly
remember
scripted
half of
legal
these.
shows.
Oh my
filled
god, I'm
viewer
showing my age.
screens, with one of the more popular at the time being a program called Christina's Court.
Okay, I seen Judge Judy. I've never seen Christina's Court, but maybe that's
The
for
show
a good
centered around
reason.
a woman named Christina Perez, giving counsel and advice to those wrapped up in legal drama. And on this particular morning, comedian Sean Harris would be featured filing suit against his
Actually, I
ex-girlfriend
remember
in the
seeing
hopes of
him
recouping
somewhere,
unpaid
but
rent.
I don't think
Every
I've
month it
ever
would be
seen this
something
show.
different, you know?
I might be wrong.
I ain't got it this month because I got to do this or that. And I'm like, man.
So you let her go 9 months without paying rent?
Now, like I said, these shows were very obviously scripted, at least to some degree, and with Sean himself being a professional comedian, it led to countless funny moments and what turned out to be one of the show's more iconic episodes, with by far the most memorable
Oh
moment coming at the
no!
very end.
I remember
when
this
things
fucking
seemed to
show
deviate from
just because of the fucking bailiff. I don't know if you call him. Is that called the bailiff? Isn't bailiff like the police that is in the court? Yeah, I remember him. Oh yeah, I did watch the show then. I did
Script.
watch the show. I don't know if I watched this episode, but I definitely remember the bailiff.
That's true. Ask him, he's been married for how
Oh.
long?
Over 27 years.
Over 20.
Look at him though. He look mad.
He ain't wrong. He ain't wrong. They weren't wrong when they
Here,
said he
we
was
see
funny.
the comedian take aim at Christina's bailiff, a man named Renard Spivey,
He's like,
who was an
"Excuse
integral
you?"
part of the show, being the judge's sidekick for years and years. Though it wasn't often that he found himself at the end of a joke like this, as Sean suggests that Renard looked unhappy when
He's
it was
like, "I better
revealed
not
that he had
catch
been
you in a
married
parking
for
lot,
over
bruh."
27 years.
He's very happy.
Also, he's a big ass guy.
Okay, all right, let's get back to
I don't mean the comedian. I mean the bailiff.
All in all,
Like
it
he
made
is.
for a rather charming moment, with viewers adoring the lighthearted jab
I wouldn't have said
aimed
that,
at
I'm
one
gonna
of
be
the
honest.
show's most beloved characters. Though no one could have known at the time just how true that joke about his happy marriage would turn out to be.
Still developing tonight,
The
a
music's
Harris
so
County
fucking
Sheriff's deputy
eerie.
facing serious charges. 63-year-old Renard Spivey accused of killing his wife, 52-year-old Patricia
What?
Spivey, after
No,
an argument that turned deadly.
Spivey.
KPRC Channel 2's Bill Barajas.
Damn,
On
he
July
must have
28th,
taken what the
2019,
comedian said to
over a
heart,
decade
bro.
after the aforementioned program aired, Renard Spivey was confronted by his wife Patricia about what she believed to be steroid use or perhaps even infidelity.
Oh no.
And in the midst of this heated argument, Spivey would draw his gun and shoot his wife once in the arm and then in the chest. Shortly after, police would find her lifeless body crumpled in their bedroom closet. Now, after years and years of taking part in this once famed legal show, Spivey can be found alone in his prison cell, where he'll likely remain
Well,
for the
that
next
took a
14
fucking
years of his
turn.
life for murdering the woman that he was so happily married to, turning what was once one of Christina's Court's most iconic moments into one of the darkest examples of irony in all of television history.
You
When
think?
find a good woman?
Do you think he was surprised by that comment because he was actually going through shit, or do you think he was just like, "Oh, you have the audacity to say I'm mad"? I don't know. That's kind of, I wasn't expecting that. Like, holy shit. Also, do you think that's because of like roid rage, or do you think he just like he's like, "Fuck this bitch," pa pa pa? I don't know. I don't know. Rest in peace to obviously the deceased, but damn, bro. Like, okay, like, how hard is it to say, all right, this isn't working out. Let's call it quits. Let's get divorced. Let's separate. Yeah, fuck it. I am like cheating on your ass. You don't make me happy anymore. Like, you could have done any of those. Not saying that there's, all of those are good, because you should never be do infidelity or cheating. But like, you could have done that. She would have been alive. I know you say till death do us part, like in the vows and shit, but that don't mean you could just kill your man, dude.
You got to hang on for dear life, because then it's hard to find another one. So my advice as a happy woman, married woman.
Oh, that shit looks like a creepypasta. The editing scares the fuck out of me more than the actual.
And in turn, making this dark content financially viable for myself. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that allows you to select and try. The smells are already so strong. Salespeople, each fragrance scent before you commit to.
I'm be honest, the editing for the ad
code for your first month
doesn't really catch my attention to buy the product. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. Chapter 2.
The world of television is an interesting one. Despite the highly controlled and well-polished products that we're typically used to seeing on our screens, there have been a surprisingly high number of deeply disturbing moments that have happened when on air.
I hope there's nothing that's
new series
tossed.
Aims to highlight some of the most disturbing. And what better way to start than with a relatively unknown case that has haunted me for years. Saturday, June 14th, 2008, a Japanese TV station called Television Miyazaki is running its standard live programming, which on this day was set to feature a game show-like segment.
The last one was American television.
The game itself was simple. Competitors stood back to back
Japanese
on a small wooden
television
stand
is
above the
wild.
shallow muddy water
They do
below.
wild ass
And when
pranks
given
and
the
stuff.
cue,
It's
they would
easy.
attempt to shove their
It's
opponent
easy to
into
be
the water
pissed off and
without
do
turning their
do
bodies
something
around.
crazy.
In the end, the one left standing on the platform would be declared the winner, with the loser being left humiliated in the mud.
Oh, he pushed her off. Oh, that was
Round
like
one goes
musical
off without a
chairs and you
hitch,
yanking the
resulting in
fucking
losing
chair.
contestant being covered head to toe in a thick brown sludge, with the whole atmosphere perfectly encapsulating the craziness and high energy charm that you would expect from a Japanese game show made at the time.
It's all in her
And so
mouth.
far, everything was all
No.
in good fun. With this excitement
That's already
only
dark
escalating
already.
as
What
the
the
contestants
fuck?
convinced one of the show's hosts, a man named Tatsuchi Yanagita, to join in on the competition.
Oh, so it has to do with the host then.
It took some convincing, but eventually Tatsuchi agrees to compete, much to the enjoyment of everyone spectating. And from there, the comedy writes itself, as immediately after the round starts, it's apparent that he stood little to no chance.
Is he gonna just turn around and push her?
And upon instantly losing his balance, Tatsuki reacts in a split second and dives off the platform, landing headfirst into the muddy water below, which causes his body to fall limp. The water that he had just dove into was merely 6 inches deep, with the rest consisting of a thick layer
Why
of
did he
mud,
dive like
which
that
his head would
though?
strike
Like,
directly, instantly causing his neck to break. And in that very moment, Tatsuchi would be irreversibly paralyzed, leaving him unable to move from the neck down.
you
It
would
was a
think
tragic accident.
you would think he would have known how steep the water was, because they're standing in the water. So you can already kind of judge based on how high the water is or how low the water is. Why would you dive like that? He didn't even dive straight. And so the impact would be like more in his stomach or the torso. he jumped like that, like that, head first into the, like, I don't know.
However, the accident itself is far from the most awful part of this live broadcast, with that coming immediately after. Unaware of Tatsuchi's severe injury, the crew believed that he was merely playing a prank on them and
If
just
he's
joking around,
paralyzed,
and so
he
they
can't
left him
move.
there,
Do you think he
face
just
first in
died?
the water, and proceeded to shove his face even deeper and deeper into the mud,
Now, why
splashing
would they
even
do
more on
that?
top of his head to rub in the fact that he had lost.
Bro, that's mud. That's sludge. That's not even water.
They had
Oh,
no
no.
idea that during their antics, Tatsuchi was in a desperate fight for survival, as in those 6 inches of water,
He drowned.
was slowly drowning,
Oh
and
my
completely
God.
unable to pick up his head to breathe.
Oh my god. Yo.
This lasts for an excruciatingly long 15 seconds before they begin to bob his head up and down, and eventually pull Tatsuchi's face out of the water. But this reprieve was short-lived, as
Is
the
he dead?
contestants proceed to drop him back into the mud face first.
Oh my god, dude. If he has family, that's a lawsuit. Well, here in America, I don't know about
It
there in
is so
Japan, but
incredibly painful to watch.
That
and made all the more
sucks.
disturbing with the over-the-top hysterical laughter coming from everyone around
didn't even
him
want to
who are
do it at
completely
first.
oblivious to the situation in front of them. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, Tatsuchi is hoisted above the water, and the camera switched back to the main broadcast, ending both Tatsuchi's and the viewer's pain. By some stroke of good fortune, Tatsuchi would survive the
Oh,
ordeal,
he survived.
but
Okay.
just barely, as it's estimated
Okay.
that even just
Oh
a
my
few
God,
more
I thought he was
seconds
dead.
in that mud would have likely led to his death. But thankfully, this wasn't the case, and according to his Facebook page, Tatsuchi has learned to live with his body-wide paralysis, and even went on to rejoin the show years later in some capacity, ending this
He's a
entry
good
off
man.
on somewhat of a bright spot.
he's a good
Despite this
man.
otherwise being one of the
I
more
judge his sense of
unsettling and
humor.
appalling broadcast accidents that I've ever seen.
I would have tried to sue, but then again, they could make the argument that he dived like that himself. That wasn't scripted.
On the topic of broadcasts that have left an impression on my life, I would say none have had more of an emotional impact than a story run by 60 Minutes about a man named Donald Herbert. The story starts back in 1995, just 4 days after Christmas, when a fire broke out in a
Not
home
Donnie.
in Buffalo, New
What
York.
happened?
In an attempt to put out the blaze, firefighter Donald Herbert was standing on the roof of the building when suddenly it gave way. As a result, Herbert would fall into the attic where he would be trapped in the smoke, unable to breathe. He would lay there without oxygen for 6 whole minutes before they finally were able to pull his body to safety, with the whole ordeal being filmed and shown on local news.
Oh, damn.
Somehow, Herbert managed to survive this accident, but being without air for that long caused him to lose most of his brain function, leading to him spending the following years in a minimally conscious state, unable to eat, unable to breathe, and seemingly
That
unable
sucks.
to understand the world
Obviously,
around
the
him. Eventually, his
asphyxiation
condition
and
led to
the
him
loss
being
of
placed in a
oxygen.
nursing home, where a feeding tube
But
was
I
the only
mean,
thing
is it
keeping him
worse
alive.
to do
For all intents and
for that,
purposes,
or
the
for
man was
you to
gone.
be burned
But
alive?
then,
Like, I don't know.
Something happened. On April 20th, 2005, a staggering 9.5 years after his accident, Donald Herbert woke up. In the
But he's
nursing
not the
home where
same,
he had
isn't
spent
he?
most of the years unresponsive, he would suddenly turn to a nurse and ask for his wife, Linda, while displaying signs of being fully lucid, which prompted the staff to immediately call his family, who rushed to see him. And sure enough, despite Herbert being completely blind, he was not only fully responsive, but recognized almost all of his family members. The moments following were all captured by cameras and later shown on an episode of 60 Minutes, with the footage being some of the hardest hitting and emotional
Why isn't
that I've
Donald there?
personally ever seen.
Uh-oh. What happened to Donald?
How long have I been gone?
Quite a while, pal. Quite a
Oh,
while.
this is hard. Oh, man.
10 years.
The pain in discovering that he had been gone for 10 years.
Ah,
all that
man,
time
this is
missed,
making my
robbed
eye-
from a man
nah,
who was
I
just
can't- oh,
doing his
no.
job, is indescribably gut-wrenching. But it's what happens after this footage that proves to be the most upsetting part. For nearly 16 hours, the newly awakened man spoke
Oh
with his
man,
family,
I don't even.
catching up on every little
Man,
detail
I'm
that he
getting
had
like
missed.
emotional
And though from
now.
that point on he had moments going in and out of his lucidity, his long-term prognosis actually seemed hopeful. Throughout the next few weeks, Donald was surrounded by family members at all times, not only to take advantage of every single second that Herbert was awake, but also for his own safety as well. As since his awakening,
feel
he
bad
would
for
thrash
him,
violently
man.
in his sleep, as if he still believed he was trapped in that blaze. And so to ensure his safety, at least one family member would be stationed with the man while he slept. Though on one night, one of the family members on duty had grown too exhausted to stay any longer, and from the first time since he became lucid, Donald Herbert was left alone.
Oh
And
no.
during that night, he would again start to thrash violently, with Herbert flailing so hard that he would fall out of his bed and strike his head against the floor, causing his brain to start bleeding.
No.
From that moment on, Donald Herbert would never become lucid again, and as a result of his injuries, he would pass away 1 year later from pneumonia.
Fuck. Yo, that was soul crushing. That story right there. I'm literally my eyes are watery and red. It's because of just that little story right there. No, man, that's imagine you, because to be a firefighter, isn't that voluntary? You gotta volunteer to be a firefighter in, I think. Oh, so I've heard. So he put his life on the line to save people and fight fires. He gets trapped in the attic, and that happens to him, and it's like torture living, because obviously he still feels trapped, and slowly but surely his health just takes that downfall. And imagine being like the family member that left early that night. They're probably living now and still regretting leaving. Like, it's hard. I can't even put myself in Donnie's shoes or that family member's shoe. Like, it just, oh man, why does bad things happen to good people? Why? This is stuff that keeps me up at night, and it gives me panic attacks. Just knowing that there's good fucking people in the world that go through just it. Oh man, fuck. Okay, I'm just gonna keep. Oh man, I hope that there's.
If anyone had ever thought that such a horrendous
Chapter
thing could
4,
happen, obviously
the
we would have
Twilight
stopped.
Zone incident.
The Twilight Zone. Throughout its lengthy run, this television series provided some of the most entertaining and memorable moments in all of television. But for this section, I'm going to be cheating a little bit, as rather than looking at an event surrounding the show itself, I'll be highlighting the far less memorable movie version of the series. Simply named Twilight Zone the Movie, the film was broken up into multiple sections, serving as sort of an anthology work with 3 separate storylines. And for the sake of this story,
summarizing
only
the
one
show?
section and really only one scene bears discussion. The scene was intended to simulate a battle in the Vietnam War, in which the protagonist, a character played by actor Vic Morrow, is attempting to outrun an attack helicopter and escape the area. The footage was intended to serve as the section's dramatic conclusion, with it being described as the following. In the scene that served as the original ending, Bill, the character portrayed by Morrow, stumbles into a deserted Vietnamese village, where he finds 2 young Vietnamese children left behind when a U.S. Army helicopter appears and begins shooting at them. Morrow was to take both children under his arm and escape out of the village as the hovering helicopter destroyed the village with multiple explosions.
Oh, fuck me.
Based on that description alone, shooting the scene was going to be tricky and likely a very intense process on the set, as all the effects used were set to be done practically, meaning that they would require an actual helicopter and real pyrotechnics. Not only this,
tell
but
me
the
this is like
director,
a
man
fucking
named
Alec
John
Baldwin
Landis, wanted to use actual child
incident,
actors
dude.
for the scene, which, given that it was planned to take place at night and near explosions, was technically illegal in the state of California. Despite the laws in place, however, Landis decided to shoot the scene regardless, enlisting 7-year-olds Mika Din Lee
Fuck that
and
guy,
6-year-olds
man.
Renee Shin Yi Chen to play the roles of the Vietnamese children. And with all the pieces now in place, the cameras began to roll on what was set to be the stunning conclusion to this particular section.
This is gonna piss me. I already know. I'm gonna be pissed off already. Just knowing that he went like against the law to shoot this shit. Even for
As the scene
artistic,
starts, the spectacle of it all can't be understated, as the lighting, setting, and the pyrotechnics truly set a haunting tone. However, unbeknownst to the production team, there was a major problem developing. As stated prior, all the effects you see here are real, and during the scene there was an actual helicopter flying just above the actors, which by itself was already very dangerous, and made even more so due to the pyrotechnics.
Yo, what
For the
type of
pilots, the
pyrotechnics
explosions
are like
launched in
that?
the
Like,
air
what the
created
fuck?
Fireballs in the sky, making things much
They're
more
dropping
difficult
nukes
to
and shit.
navigate. But those on the ground were never made aware of this.
Even
And
the
being pressed to
see,
make
even
things
the
look even
fucking
more and more
camera is
intense,
glitching
the
out.
crew
Like,
decided to double down on their explosions, launching 2 massive charges back to back. A decision that proved to be a costly one, as the second blast was so strong that it dislodged the helicopter's tail prop, causing the craft to spin uncontrollably. And within mere seconds, as the cameras roll on the 3 actors trudging their way through the water,
no. Please tell me that helicopter doesn't land on that guy and the 2 children. Please tell me that's not gonna
the
happen.
craft crashes directly on top of them.
Oh my
Somehow,
god! I
everyone
knew
on
it.
board the
Fucking knew it.
helicopter survived the wreck, though those on the
Bro, I predicted it. I didn't predict it because it happened before. But I fucking I assumed it, and oh man, I'm pissed. Fuck the director. He should be in jail for life. He should be charged with all that shit. Okay, because first of all, those fucking pyrotechnics, those are nukes. Those aren't even pyro. That's not like any little poof. That's a fucking boom. Forest fires in California are still going on because of these pyrotechnics. That's how fucking are you? Oh no, I'm enraged. I went from sad, almost crying, to fucking enraged.
Slashed into Vic Morrow and Mika Din Lee, instantly decapitating them. And as the craft slammed to the ground, Renee Shin Yi Chen would be crushed beneath its massive weight.
Please tell me
in one
he didn't
frame, there were 3 living actors, and in the next, there were none.
Okay.
In retrospect, it's not hard to see the red flags and the dangerous practices being used by the production team.
I know what I was
following
gonna
several
say.
long
Sounds
legal
bad.
battles, no one would be
I
found
was gonna say
liable
like,
in the
oh, I
deaths of
hope
the 3
nobody.
actors. And Landis himself
But it's
would go
because
on to
imagine
enjoy an
surviving
incredibly
that.
Successful career.
How
The
your
Twilight
life
Zone
will turn
film would
out.
eventually be released
Nah,
years later, only with a different ending.
Waste me in GTA. Like
Oh, they're not gonna demolish it. There's nobody'll come in here. I'll fight force with
Albert
force.
Dryden. How many fucking chapters?
Our final story
I can't
takes us
take
to
much
the
long.
quaint
Okay, this is the last
countryside
one.
of Buttsfield, England, where a man named Albert Dryden had been living a fairly solitary life.
That's a
Following
nice
his
beard,
retirement
bruh.
from steelworking, Albert dedicated his life to building up a plot of land which he had purchased in the area. His main goal was to construct a bungalow for his elderly mother where she could live during the summers, while also planning to build some sort of fallout bunker on the same plot. But right from the start, he ran into issues, as his permit request to build these structures on his land was promptly denied. This did not stop Dryden, however, as despite the ruling, he began his construction
How does that
anyway,
work?
believing he had found a workaround with the law, as rather than building the house in a standard manner, he instead dug a deep hole into the ground
Actually,
and
I
began to
retract
construct
that
his home
question.
there.
My
labeling
brother
it
owns
as
his
the home in a
house in
hole.
a
Due to this,
giant
the
plot of
home only
land,
stood about 8 feet
and
or
he
so
needs to
above
get
the ground,
permission
which
from
Dryden believed made the construction legal. However, he was
the
wrong in
commi-
his
that committee
assumption,
or
and
something,
the building
so, yeah.
swiftly
It's
caused
probably
a
the same over
disagreement
there.
between the man and the Derwentside District Council, with this rift
Yeah,
growing
see?
more and more
Council,
amplified
committee,
as time
same
went
shit.
on. In the midst of this ordeal, a man named Harry Collinson was appointed as chief of the council and assigned to handle the case as his first order of business. And he did so by initially sending Dryden a letter demanding that he stop construction and also tear down what he had already built. Dryden, however, decided to
That
counter with a
sucks.
court appeal, which was swiftly denied, leading to the court's final order that the building be demolished within 3 months. It was around the same time that the local news began to document the ongoing feud between
I have a
Dryden
feeling he's
and the
gonna lose his
government.
sanity.
And
I'm gonna be
despite the
honest with
numerous
you, because
rulings
imagine
against him,
building
Dryden
something,
still
your
refused
life's
to give
work,
in to the
and they're like,
government's
nope.
demands. And eventually, the council decided
Shit
to
it
take
on.
matters into their own hands and decided to demolish the structure themselves.
Oh no.
So on June 20th,
That's even
1991, Harry Collinson, a demolition team, and a group of police constables traveled to Dryden's property to demolish the structure. Before this group arrived, the decision was made
really
that should
own
Dryden
land?
attempt to escalate the situation,
If you
they
can't
were to
do
immediately back
anything?
off and come up with another plan to avoid any sort of physical altercation. At the scene, numerous reporters had already began gathering at the property line, including a cameraman for the BBC, who was there to document the feud in real time. And right from the start, it was clear that Dryden was not going to be going down without a fight. The gate to his property was chain-locked, with Dryden standing behind it, pointing to 2 letters that he believed proved that he should be able to keep his structure intact.
Okay, I had a thought in my mind, and I have to just whoop. It makes me think. Do you really own the land if you can't build whatever you want in the land? You need to get fucking approval from a committee and shit. Like even like I get you need approval if you're protruding on someone else's land or property, or like in the city's property where you don't have any permission to, or like it's not like, let's say I own this plot of land, like my fucking yard, the side of the house, the front of the yard, the house itself, like from this gate to this gate, or fence to this fence, that's my land. And if I choose to like hang something or plant a tree that protrudes the neighbor's house, I get that, right? But like a bunker, he's not building that shit outside of his property. He's doing it inside his land. So why should it matter? I don't know. Like, I don't think you really own your land and can do whatever you feel like with that land. I think just owning land means like you own the acre or that square foot, or I don't know, however the fuck big that plot of land is, and like you hold it, and like let's say they want to construct something or build an apartment building or whatever the fuck they want to do, they can buy your plot of land, or you can sell it, or you can build a house, I guess, on the land. But apart from that, you can't really do anything else. Like, what the hell? I thought you bought a plot of land, you can do whatever you feel like on the land. That doesn't really violate, as I said, other people's land, or I don't know, man. I don't know. Also, another thing, these guys, this council, first red flag, he wants to build a bunker. I don't know, man. I feel like people who want to build bunkers and stock up for like an apocalypse or the end of the world, they're kind of loony. They're kind of, maybe I retract the looniness. I think there just a wire is not connected correctly, or I don't know, just something to consider. But yeah, I'm gonna stop yapping and let's finish this video.
At least for the time being.
Read that. That's an official letter, and there's an appeal in. There's an inspector coming out on this site in 5 weeks' time.
Well, it doesn't say that. Where does it say
Well, I have another letter confirming that.
Can you show me the other
I'm
letter?
not going to show you the other letter.
He's like,
but
see this letter?
this
Don't pay
stuff's coming
attention
out
to
in
it.
5
Pay
weeks'
attention to
time.
this
Well,
letter.
all as I'm asking is to wait 5 weeks for the outcome, maybe 6 weeks. It'll take a week after he's been out.
I'm satisfied, Albert, that there's nothing in these documents.
Also,
With
can he
respect to the
postpone
legalities
the
of
decision
that the
by
inspector
keep
has
making
confirmed.
appeals?
Yes, Harry.
However, Dryden's request for more time was clearly falling on deaf ears.
I
And
guess not.
realizing this, Dryden began to grow more and more agitated,
Uh-oh.
with his tone quickly turning far more menacing.
If
Oh,
you don't
shit.
open the gate, now we'll obviously have to take the fence down with the machine. So If you want,
These guys are ready to bring the
some
fucking
time to remove
the
the fence
Queen's
itself to minimize
guards,
damage. Do you
the
want to do that?
tanks.
Any damage that's
th-
subsequently
they're-
caused as a
they're-
result of
it's
you
war.
attempting us doing that will be your liability.
Well, you might not be around to see
Ooh.
the outcome of this disaster. Now, you've been warned.
That's a threat.
Understand
Can't
me,
they?
well, I'm not
What
gonna
the fuck?
explain, but if you had any sense, you would go away now and wait 5 weeks for the outcome.
That's
of that.
another.
Right?
That's the last
That's the
red
last
flag
word
right
on it.
there.
If you show me the letter,
He's not throwing up the white flag.
Letter.
He's throwing up red flags. Like, you should.
At this point, based on their initial plan, the crew should have certainly turned back, as it was now getting to the point that Dryden was outright threatening Collinson, warning him that if he were to step on his property, that something awful was going to happen. And though this did cause Collinson to take a few steps back, he still remained steadfast
Oh my
in carrying
God!
out
Why
the
didn't you
task
call
and
the
remained on the edge of
fucking
the property
police or
line,
something?
standing his ground even when Dryden escalates the situation even further.
I'm not taking sides. I'm just saying you should have involved the police. Like, if he's making threats.
Can you get a shot at this gun?
Oh no.
As the two stand face to face,
It's too
Dryden
far gone.
brandishes his pistol and points it directly at Collinson, and wanted to ensure the man's combative behavior was being documented.
I don't think that
Collinson
helmet's
asks the
gonna help you
cameraman
out,
to
buddy.
get a shot of
I'm
his
sorry.
gun, which subsequently
He's
leads
aiming.
to
He's
this
aiming either
moment.
at your dick or he's aiming at the heart.
Can you get a
So
shot
you're
at this
you're.
gun?
He looks like he's immortal in Valorant. I'm just saying. Oh.
In an instant, with cameras rolling, Dryden fires a shot directly into the chest
Please
of
don't
Harry
show it.
Collinson,
Okay, nice.
and then
Oh my
fires
God, I
another
got
at the
scared.
crowd standing before him, leading to things devolving into a chaotic scene of running and screaming.
Imagine the guy in the fucking excavator would have just
Tony
proceeded
Belmont ran for cover.
with the demolition.
We were standing watching what was going on, and then I
Wait,
shot
there
one
is
out,
police.
kid
What the
kinda
fuck?
Fell to the ground, and I felt a shot in the arm. And I've clearly been shot here in the arm.
As the camera crew finally gets to a safe
Imagine he
distance
passed
and
out
catches
like
their
in the
breath,
middle of the.
it's revealed that
I
one of the
got shot
journalists for the BBC had been struck in the arm, along with one of the officers.
I shouldn't
Though in
be.
the
I
midst of
shouldn't
all
be.
this
I'm sorry. I'm
carnage,
sorry. I
we see
even made
no
a joke.
sign
I'm
of
sorry,
Harry
man. I'm sorry.
Collinson, as by this point, he was likely still on the ground where he had originally fallen, dead from his gunshot wound, with his
Damn.
final words being,
Can you get a shot at this gun?
Well, you got the shot of the guy.
following the
Again, I'm
incident,
sorry.
police would engage in a standoff
just-
with Dryden, who claimed that he had set up booby traps and landmines, along with other explosives on the property, though this would turn out to be a bluff, and eventually he would be grabbed by officers and taken into custody, where he would subsequently be tried and sentenced
Oh.
to life in prison. And despite his actions on that day, Albert Dryden would go on to become somewhat of a national hero, growing a legitimate fan base for the
What?
way he stood up against the government.
Don't
Dryden
throw
would
up
live
a
out his
peace
time
sign
in
after you
prison
try
until
to
2017
assassinate
when he suffered
the
a
press
massive
and a
stroke,
fucking
to which he was let out
council
on a
member,
compassionate
like-
release, with the man eventually passing away just 1 year later. Though his actions that day will forever be immortalized as one of the most notorious and darkest moments in television history.
That is fucking crazy,
I want to
dude.
give a big thank you to Scentbird for sponsoring this video. Make sure to check out those links below, as well as
Damn, fucking hell. Once again, check out Nick Crowley if you enjoyed this video. Watch it for yourself. He also has a whole bunch of other content. I don't know. I felt mixed. It was like a fucking roller coaster. Like, half of it was like, ooh. Like the Donald story kind of got me emotional and I was sad, but then the next one pissed me off. It was a emotional roller coaster, but that was interesting to say the least. I feel like if that last story happened here in America, it would be the opposite. I mean, yeah, people afterwards, I guess he became known and an icon, whatever. Again, why are you throwing up a peace sign? You try to just violently kill everyone, but he stood his ground, I guess. Again, I'm sorry for making jokes, okay? It's not a laughing matter. but at the same time, it's like it's kind of ironic. He's like, "Can you get a shot of this gun?" And he ended up taking the shot. But I don't know. I just feel like if it happened here, it would have been different because, oh, rights in America and land and guns and blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know.